just being
Now
silly.
you know.
Now you know. Okay. So, Oki.
Hey.
Oh my God. Show. Oki.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're live. Coming from the Bay Area.
I just love these badass sisterhood. So, ni Daniko Makoyo Sakoi, and my government name is Theda NewBreast, and I'm just so proud. My heart is just swelled with unconditional love for these two guests that we have. 145 weeks, everyone, for Wellness Wednesday, Native American Institute, Native Wellness Institute. We just 145 weeks since we've been in this pandemic, and that has been an unusual blessing that has taught us so much. And so I want to kind of just do we're in the San Francisco Bay Area, and this is the land of the Ohlone people, but it's also just the land of so many cultural entities that are still here. They tried to wipe them out, but hell no, they're still here. And there's so much happening in San Francisco, and there's so much happening on the Oakland side. And so I wanted to welcome you, Native Wellness Institute. We always like to talk to the grassroots, with the trailblazers, the moccasins on the ground, those that never give up, no matter what, even if they take away our funding, take away our leadership, beat us up on East 14th, that's now Martin Luther King Boulevard. No matter what, we just brush it off. We forgive. We still act with a kind heart. We brush it off, and we show up for our people. So we have two special guests today. But when we started, this is how badass Auntie thinks. As the humor, my family, I was only 7.5 years old when we relocated here. And when I come here, I think about all of the healing and the humor, and we all adopted each other, because there's like 150,000 natives just in this area. But the humor, okay, so I wanted to start with, and this is just like, because healing through humor is we'd always have this one story everyone would tell, and it was when these two Blackfeets, like the flag, like the flag, like the flag.
These two Blackfeets right there.
Blackfeets came on relocation in the early 60s, so like 1960, and they came to the Bay Area, and they brought us in on trains. They brought us, they take us to Seattle, and then they brought us in on trains, and then our Southwestern people, they brought them on trains to come and work on the trains here. But anyway, there was these two Blackfeets, and they didn't know any of the cultures like me. I had never seen Chinese or Vietnamese. I'd never seen that culture. I'd never seen African American. I'd never seen any other culture. So these two Blackfeet, they stopped this, and it was a person of color, and they said, "Could you help us? We're looking for San Josie." It was, it's not knowing, and so that person of color said, "Oh, okay, you guys are from out of town. We're here in California. We pronounce our J's like Jose, and so you're looking for San Jose." Okay, so then they were visiting, and Blackfeet, give them some food, they hug them. We're just we just love people up until you show us why we shouldn't love you. So if you show that side, watch out. Leo, come over here. Books to put. I was gonna have a dog, Blackfeet, because man, they're Imida in our language means spirit that travels around. Come here, Leo, you'd be so good. Cute. So anyway, they were visiting, and so that person of color asked the two Blackfeet, "How long are you guys gonna be here? How long are you gonna stay?" And they said, "Oh, Hoon or Hulai." That's how quick all the Indians and
Oh.
indigenous here, that's how quick they adapt and they just like do it, you know. And so I'm gonna like, oh, Leo's just right here. He's actually, this is a
He's
good
so
sign spiritually. You know, we got a
Aw.
smudge. And April, we had a big old hunk of copal over there for our Azteca friends. And so all the way that they heal, we've got it lit. So I'm gonna ask, who wants to go first? Would you like to go first or April?
Go, Aurora. She's next to you.
Okay, all right.
My sis.
Yes. Hello, everybody. It's good to see everyone. Oki, Nistu, Nitanako, Matominskiaki. I am an enrolled member of the Blackfeet tribe, and I'm so happy to be here with our Auntie Priscilla, Theda, and get to spend some time. And this is a really exciting week. We have our Two-Spirit Powwow happening in San Francisco, so a lot of events leading up, and we're just so excited. It's just the energy, you know, here in the Bay Area is buzzing, you know, everyone's coming into town. And so we're getting a lot of visitors from out of town, and looking forward to a lot of events. And we'll be doing some outreach booths at the health center, doing outreach booths at the powwow this weekend, and some sacred bundles, suicide prevention screeners. And we're just really excited about all of that happening, and seeing all the many relatives coming into town, and sharing a little bit of some of the work that we've been doing here in the Bay Area. Native American Health Center has been around since 1972. Shortly after the Relocation Act, the Government Relocation Act, and there was a need for culturally competent healthcare for Native American Indians because there were such high populations of multi-tribes here in the Bay Area. And so I'm working at the Native American Health Center as a program manager currently, and I've been there a little over 20 years. And wearing many different hats there, and just very grateful and thankful to continue to work in our community and bringing good healing and wellness to our community. And we do lots of prevention groups. We have multiple programs happening at the same time, you know, as far as like adult mental health groups, youth mental health groups, annual cultural events. We believe that culture is prevention in the work that we do, and that our community can heal, you know, through these events and providing spaces of belonging and inclusiveness. And just really excited to work here. I'm excited about what's been happening in our community with the cultural district and the cultural center happening again and coming into fruition. I'm just so excited about that, and really happy to work with our relatives here in the community, our leadership. And yeah, I just want to, we have this wonderful event happening tomorrow with Auntie Priscilla, Theda in San Francisco. That'll be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. right at the intersection of Cultural Arts Center on the corner of Van Ness and Market. And if you're around, come by, stop in, say hello. We're going to have a good time there, lots of laughter. Speaking about, Auntie will be speaking about healthy sexuality and loving ourselves. And so, yeah, just really looking forward to that. And I kind of just want to turn it over to April, you know, to talk about April's a leader in our community. And I'm thankful, you know, for all the work that you've been doing. Wow, I'm just like so amazed, you know, like, you know, with the Cultural Center in San Francisco that's been coming up. And I know you put a lot of hard work in, you know, and I just want to honor you, you know, and praise you, you know, what's that called? Edify you, you know, and lift you up as a sister in all that work that you've been putting out there, and have you share a little more about what's going on in San Francisco and the Native American Indian community.
Start doing our lilies get ready for the Two-Spirit Powwow Lily contest if they have it again.
Let's do it.
I was a champion of the Lily contest. I forgot what year it was, but I'll remember.
I was runner up.
Yeah, she was. She was my competition. I was, oh, man. Oh yeah, good afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Theda, for inviting me to be on this power hour with you and my sister Aurora. it's just been an honor to get to know you, Theda, as our badass auntie and leader. You guide us, you help us, you mentor us so much here. Even though you're not here in the Bay Area, you still do it for us, and that's that medicine. So I just want to say, oh, Yahweh for you, and thank Creator for Grandma Betty too. She's a strength that never stops, and we feel that love and her presence every time we see her and talk about her, so she's a badass grandma.
Yeah.
So we have badass aunties and badass grandmas. But yeah, my name's April McGill. So I'm an enrolled member of Round Valley. I'm Yuki, Little Lake, Wailaki on my mother's side, and then I'm Mishwa Wapo on my father's side. So I'm enrolled in Round Valley, which is up in Mendocino, and then my father's territory is all of Sonoma County area. So up north, I was born up in Santa Rosa, and I was raised in San Francisco. The city raised me, is how I always tell people. Really, really strong roots to San Francisco. My great grandfather actually lived in San Francisco, and he used to go back and forth to Round Valley. And he loved living in San Francisco because he loved, like Theda had mentioned earlier, we had a lot of Native people come into California, and specifically the San Francisco, for work. And so my great grandfather, he used to love living down by the bus station and greeting all the natives that were coming in to San Francisco, and I love hearing that because, I always wondered why I had such a connection to San Francisco. As a California Indian, we feel that, we are the caretakers of this land, and we respect, our relatives that, have this space, the space that's gifted to them to take care of. So I honor our Ohlone relatives, but I always felt that connection. And I thank those relatives for allowing me to live in their territory, and knowing that my great grandfather had that tie and love for the city as well. So I always hold that, it's important to me to do this work. And yeah, so I feel like, my sister also, she lived in San Francisco, went to school here. So I always say she lived in the Mission. And when I was like 7 years old, I used to come down and stay with her all the time. And she took me to Mission Theater to see E.T. And that was the first time I ever saw Spanish subtitles. I'd never seen that in my life on a movie theater, and I'm at Mission Theater. I'm 7. I'm like, what's this? And I seen so many people that looked like me that were brown, So I was like, I love this place. I fell in love with the Mission. And I always said, I'm going to live in the Mission. And actually I do, 22nd and Cap, shouldn't tell people where I live, but yeah.
Right. They ain't gonna bother you, girl.
Yeah, they ain't gonna mess with me. But yeah, so just being able to have that connection, and a lot of my community work started right at Friendship House. I met Aurora there, working at Friendship House and in the community, and getting to know her and seeing all the work that she did. And maybe we met earlier, Aurora, because now that I think about it, because I used to hang out with All Nations, and then we used to powwow around. So, and you were dancing then, and you guys were all out there, man, champion dancers back then.
The warrior dance troupe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it went further back.
Yeah, I remember Josh was a part of that drum group as well, and seeing him around, and yeah,
so just all those connections to everyone. So it's been awesome to just be able to say I worked for Friendship House, right when the building got started, and been able to work under Helen and learn a lot from her, and how she was able to hand a lot down to Aurora and I, and Michelle Antone, and a lot of us, that she would call us up, pull us in her office, and say, this is what I want you to go do. And so that's how it would be. And just working at the health center as well. And now I currently am the executive director of the American Indian Cultural Center in San Francisco. Yeah, so that's awesome. So Cultural Center, we know, has been around since like 1968, earlier than that, Indian Center, providing a lot of social services and a place for the community to gather, and so we've had a great opportunity these last 5 years to really get some seed money to bring some visibility to the community. And with that, we've been able to just grow our overhead, and now we're a virtual center, and now we're getting a space. So we'll be, we have a small space, but it's a space. And so now we'll be considered a brick and mortar. And that qualifies for more funding in San Francisco. And with that, we were able to get us a cultural district, with the community here in San Francisco, and the leadership of the American Indian Cultural Center and our board, we're able to, push for a cultural district. And so now we have that, and been partnering with Calle 24 on a lot of that expansion of the cultural district. And, I sit on the board there. A lot of our organizations sit on the board of the cultural district. So it's been awesome. We've been all partnering together to really build up our community and create more visibility and create more spaces, and to take over our city back, take our city back, actually,
Yeah.
Right. So April, so this is like, I'm just sitting over here going, God damn, this is like, so like we have a Indian reservation of multiple tribes in the middle of San Francisco, is what you're telling us.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell us more. Tell us more.
Yeah. So it's been, so we have our new space is going to be between 14th and 15th. It's at 1863 Mission Street. So it's in construction. So we were able to get this space through some of our partners in the community advocating for that. So we're super excited. We really are creating an arts and culture and tradition. That's what we're focusing on in this space. A lot of the work that the health center does is really a lot of those social services. So we want to make sure that we're not duplicating, services or being competitive with each other. We want to make sure that we're providing, services that are diverse in culture, tradition, and also not forgetting about our artists, our young people, our youth and elders. So that's been our focus. And so right now, Friendship House has actually been awarded a large amount of funding through the city and county, through the state of California, or actually, excuse me, it's not through the state. I think it's through federal money is what it is. And they've been able to get this funding to build what they're calling Village SF. And so Village SF is going to be like the new thing. And it's going to be just got approved it got approved by the city last week for 6 stories.
Wow. I've been hearing about that for a few years now, that they were planning on doing that, building that building. And I've got to see that little structure, that they created, and it's going to be so beautiful. The plan, to expand it, and wow, 6 floors, huh? And they're going to have Women's Lodge Healing Center in there, medical from the American Health Center, dental as well, right? A combination of all these different services, right? Can you tell me more about that, April?
Are you going to be in there?
I'm not quite sure if we're moving over there. We're just like right around the corner, the clinic. But I kind of have a feeling we might be, because I heard that in the past that also youth services was going to be in there as well. So yeah,
it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I think the layout is going to be beautiful. We had ceremony in that space to bless that land there. And we had a lot of our leaders here in the community come together, and have a ceremony to say, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna support each other on this and make sure that this happens. It was Helen's dream to have this Village SF. And so, to have this traditional foods garden at the top of the building, and then having
wait, okay, so no, I'm too excited. So we're gonna have these 6 stories of all these trailblazers for wellness, and then we're gonna have a garden on the roof.
A garden on the roof. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe a teepee, maybe a hogan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and I was just talking with Peter this morning, just and just hearing about more of like how, Marty's really excited about yesterday, what happened, because, Helen was really, when one of the things Peter shared yesterday with the mayor was that she always wanted the mayor to come to the building when she saw that, it was first African-American woman as mayor. She was like, she's going to come to Fresno today, and so the mayor came yesterday with the supervisors. Nancy Pelosi's office was represented as well. And it was an emotional, beautiful day. And Marty just said, to Peter, I'm so glad to see all you young leaders, coming together and really making this possible, and that our youth are stepping up. They want to be a part of it, and that's what it's about. We do this for the youth, and making sure that they have something.
Awesome. For those of you, we even have a lot of our Australian people and across Canada. And this Power Hour gets shared out to give inspiration, positive, productive, and hope. So let me ask both of you, because when I had to pack, and the badass auntie, I have like suitcases.
Yeah.
Lots of suitcases.
2 big old giant suitcases, heavy.
They both weigh 49.9 pounds. No.
49 point.
because I brought my dance outfit, and it's such an honor. On Saturday is that the Bates, it's the Two-Spirit powwow that I heard of, just how fantastic it was from the Two-Spirit gathering in Montana, the 26th annual. So our Two-Spirit have been, this last one, I just want to say that, man, there was over 100 of us, like a third of them were from Canada. And it was because of the pandemic, because they finally started going online and saying, hey, what else are these Indigenous doing in the lower 48? So that was their first trip down to United States, and they came to the Two-Spirit gathering. And then there was a third of brand new Two-Spirit, LGBTQ, transgender. And what I learned, because I just went to go listen, is that we should respectfully ask what pronouns a person likes to be, just like in the like we like to be asked what tribe we come from, our tribes that we come from. But we're all getting dressed up, and I think we're celebrating coming out of the pandemic, and we're still alive.
Yeah.
We're celebrating coming out of the pandemic, just like you see these sisters. There's no competition. There's just allies. There's collaborations. And Native Wellness Institute, the same we're doing with White Bison, Native Dads Network, and Al Pooley's Sacred Father and Families Association. There's a new day happening. But could you tell me from your version how the San Francisco Bay Area has made a safe place for Two-Spirit, Indigenous, and Native people? Are any of that kind of history, or because I'm just looking forward to this. Steve Barrios, Muffy from Pine Ridge, and Felipa. I just saw that they fundraised. I mean, they fundraised to get their suitcases loaded and to come down here. And when you come from Pine Ridge, that's pretty good. We fundraise and raise the funds to come to San Francisco. And there's many more stories of. So who wants to start and tell us a little of that history?
I can share
Yeah.
with one name that comes to mind is Ruth Villasenor. And we used to work together at the health center many years ago. And I remember it was her dream. She always talked about wanting to have a Two-Spirit powwow. And one year it just, came together, and it happened. The first 12 years ago, it took place, and it was through Bay Area American Indian Two-Spirit. She was a part of that organization. And the very first one was at the LGBTQ Center in San Francisco. And yeah, and just from there, it's just grown and grown. And now they got this big giant building, Fort Mason, and out right on the water, right by Golden Gate Bridge. And it's just beautiful, a big, beautiful space, and a great powwow committee that's been working really, really hard to, fundraise and make it happen every year. They even had it at the Cow Palace one year. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yes, that was a nice space too.
I remember when it was small and then it just got so big, because I remember because TK is 16, him and Tanu, and they were like one of the first little dancers at the powwow, and they're just little dancing.
Yeah, I remember it was TK, Tanu, and Monty dancing at the powwow, and then they moved it over to Oakland. Remember they had it over there at it's now where Segorte's office is, over in that church big building they had over there with the gymnasium. And I just remember it being Ruth's dream, and people coming together, and your question was about how do they create this safe space, and there's just so many people that travel from all over, and advocating for each other, and allies that help create the safe space, and help advocate and speak up for one another. And when I remember going there, what was it, like a couple years ago before the pandemic, I just remember there being so much love there, just so much like inclusion and like non-judgment. And if anyone, out there in Indian country, Two-Spirit, looking for that belonging, and that acceptance, this is the powwow to be at. It's the one here in San Francisco. And it kind of reminds me of, like, how we have Pride in June. Like, I get it mixed up because it feels like this is Pride here.
This is our Pride in February.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think too, Aurora, it makes me think back to NAPSI days, you know what I mean? When we had the Native American AIDS. What was the title then? It was Native American AIDS.
Native American AIDS prevention. It's NN, right? NAA or something like that. It's like,
yeah, that was back in the day. And I think that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
National Native American AIDS Prevention Center. That was in Oakland.
Yeah.
I think my sister Wanda even worked there for a while in her recovery. But and April, before you tell us more history, I just remember my mom in 79 and 80, because I was just approaching that decision where I was gonna quit drinking, but I remember the Harmon brothers, Gerald Harmon, Harold Harmon, and I remember a lot of the South Dakota Two-Spirit, and they're just like flashing. Phil Tingley, he was head of the National Native American Social Workers Association. Erna Pahi. There was just
Randy Burns.
Randy Burns. Yeah, I was just gonna say Randy Burns.
There was just so many trailblazers, but my mom was, and this is just because I would just followed in their footsteps, because we were always fundraising because we didn't have no funds.
Yeah.
So we didn't have no money, but we fundraised. And when our first brothers and sisters started dying from AIDS, and so it was 1981, and I worked with Gerald Harmon at QUIC, which was California Urban Indian Health Council at that time, got out of UC Berkeley. But I just remember we didn't know, and it was just like, and there was just such sadness because no one was even, just like, with the pandemic now and other, smallpox, other tuberculosis, no one was saying how they died. And because their families had rejected them because they were two-spirited, they abandoned them. And so my mother was always working, and others, Bill Wapipa, Carol Wapipa. I mean, there was just so many trailblazers. They were always fundraising because they stayed with them until they died. They stayed at their bedside. And whatever their death wishes were, they did it. And I just remember, like if some of them said, I want to go home, like they just said, I want to go home. And so wherever their home was, it was like, we fundraised, we got like the caskets, we just followed their wishes. And I just remember, my mom, Betty, she's 84, she's still alive. She would just say, well, we got to raise some funds because we're sending them back to Oklahoma. we gotta raise some funds. We're sending them back to Ontario. Or we gotta raise some funds because we're sending
No.
it back to
Sit.
Humboldt. I think he's thirsty. I think he's thirsty. Anyway, our dog is like really, he wants to get in this conversation because he wants to talk about the two spirit dogs.
Yeah.
Yes, there's two spirit dogs. My dog's a two-spirit dog.
Yeah, there's.
I had one too.
Okay.
Hey. Yep.
So. Eddie, agrees. He's really getting in on this power hour. So, April, tell us some more because I think it's important to honor Bates. It's important to honor 2023 being the renewal of Indian country, the healing, the wellness. And so what's going to go on? I mean, like what happened yesterday? We just saw all the beautiful pictures. Tell us some more, April.
Yeah, I just I think this is a really good time for us, like COVID really put us in a place. But when I was thinking about, we're getting ready, so the American Indian Cultural Center, we're getting ready for our strategic plan. Actually Lori is going to be doing it, so we're super excited.
Really?
Yeah, I put that out. Lori is doing it, but yeah, we're super excited because we're just talking about like the next 5 years of what that's going to happen within the cultural center and all the good work that we're doing. And we look back and we're like, God, we've done so much in a pandemic. We've been able to, advocate for funding for a space, an art space. We've advocated for a cultural district during the pandemic. We've also advocated for this funding for this village SF. So the pandemic actually was a time, and I know you've talked about that, where we really just like boots on the ground, got moving, got to business. It gave us that time to be grounded and really focused. And I think that this is a beautiful time because we see so much happening in the community, and like, it's great that, we've been having this celebration at City Hall in November, and it just keeps growing and growing. We continue to honor our community and have more dancers, and the mayor just loves hosting us, and it's so funny because, just seeing them yesterday be there to support us. It's like, when have we had that, in a long time, for our mayor to really say, you're going to get a cultural center, is what she has said to us. April, you're going to get a cultural center, and and I think that what I feel is that we have to have the patience for that. It's going to happen, just like we're seeing the village SSF is going to happen, and so we're super excited about what's happening here in the city, just beginning to grow more of our spaces, and providing services and more cultural programming. And like, I'm excited about this event tomorrow at Intersection for the Arts. I think people are starting to come out more. They want to see Auntie Priscilla, and I think it's perfect time to give some self-love, and have conversations about healthy sexuality, and a lot of the work that I do for Sakui. So I have another hat that I wear with the California Consortium for Urban Indian Health. And I do this work for Red Women Rising, bringing attention to violence against Native women and MMIP. And, we see that a lot of our women who have suffered with violence, they also need that self-love. They need to know that they are worthy, and that there are healthy relationships out there. And so I look forward to tomorrow, and us having that. We don't ever talk about what's happening with our missing and murdered trans women. We don't talk about a lot that's happened to our people within violence. And I think that, we've been able to, when you talk about healthy and safe spaces, that's one thing I think is so powerful about our Bay Area Indian community, is that we have safe spaces for people here that, like, if I were to go home, say to my res, there's safe spaces within, say, my family, or I know where to go, but yet not for our full community. We're still working on that. We're still healing. There's a lot of healing to do. And I see a lot of our people, when they come from the reservation and they come into the urban community, they feel welcome, like I was hearing this one time, like California natives, you guys are all always hugging everybody. You're always loving on each other. It's like, sorry, we just like to hug and we just like to give love.
And it's not going to be a one-arm hug. It has to be a two-arm hug.
Yes. And I give hugs to my sisters over there.
We get to hug you soon. We're all in different, these are busy ladies and we had to maneuver them just to get them for this hour. So Native Wellness Institute really wants to thank you, first of all, that you got out of your schedule and you came on. So we're on opposite sides of the water. So, with your wisdom, maybe let's just switch gears. And speaking from your heart, how do you create safe spaces? What happens in those safe spaces what has contributed to your healing? I only have 34 years and 8 months of sobriety, and I only have over 50 years in Al-Anon. And I don't say that in any boasting way, because some days I don't know jack. I don't know nothing. I mean, I have, but I surround myself with sober people.
Mm-hmm.
I surround myself with positive thinkers. I surround myself with people who say I'm sorry when they make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I surround myself with people who ask for help. And so I just say that really, I think, has kept me on target. And I think, Badass Auntie, the role is a blessing to elevate us to talk about sexual assault and rape, about healthy sexuality, about stopping the violence against Native women. So, and whoever wants to go first, because there's so much wisdom here between the both of you in this whole area, and they come from teams. They don't operate as individuals. What helps Indians heal? I guess from your heart. Who wants to start? Do you want to start or
Aurora, you can start.
Okay.
I always talk a lot about, in more recent years too, is just the gift of self-reflection, right? Is that I always say not everyone has the gift of self-reflection. And so when we pray, that Creator helps us to have that self-reflection so that we can reflect upon ourselves and our actions, and that we can see ourselves, and that we can, always be growing and have a open spirit, so that we can grow, and each day is a new day, and critique ourselves and try again the next day. Each day is a new day. I always say to try again, to be well, to be better than the day before, and we're competing against our own selves. And what keeps us well also is just surrounding ourselves with good people. Ever since I started working at the health center, we were right next door to the Friendship House Association of American Indians recovery program, and with Helen and Randy Shirley, and Myra Smith. And I'm just so grateful and thankful. And I feel like Creator heard my prayers, and when I started working there, being surrounded by culture, being surrounded by people in recovery, and walking the walk and walking the talk, and just that really contributed to my wellness, surrounding ourselves. And I always like to say that life, is what you make it, and life is what you put into it. And if at any given moment you are not happy with your life the way it is, we have the power to make that change. You have the power to make that change in your life, and you can change your mind. If you decide that this is not the life that you want, you can go out there and recreate yourself into that person. I see a lot of people in recovery that come through recovery, recreate their whole lives, and create a new life for themselves. And one of my favorite sayings is, life is not about finding yourself, life is about creating yourself. So you go out and you create that life that you want for yourself. And so taking the advice of our elders to surround ourselves with, they say, surround yourself with 5 people you look up to. So 5 women that you look up to as women, and men can find 5 men to look up to, and surround yourself with them. And you go out and you reach out to them, and you make them a part of your circle. Elders, I have many, thank God, I'm so thankful. I have so many women in our community here that I can look up to. And I also, want to be and hope that there's younger people that I want you to know you can come to me too, to the younger sisters and relatives too, as an auntie, in the Bay Area here. And I'm going to be here to support you as well too in that way, and and be a positive mentor. And we need more positive role models and mentors in our community for our young people. And that's my thoughts on staying well is, just surrounding yourself with good people all the time. And I tell it to my oldest son as well all the time when he would go home to visit, reach out to the elders and keep surrounded with the elders. And yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you, Aurora. I'm standing here, or I'm sitting here, but I was looking at her, and isn't she pretty damn good looking?
Beautiful.
I just love classic. Indian women have a different beauty. It is just so majestic. And so April, and because Aurora's grandma is Buster Yellow Kidneys, has a full blood sister, and Doris Wells is her grandma. So having Sundanced with Buster Yellow Kidneys bundle for 10 years, when I look at her, it's I realize it's their prayers. I'm sitting on their prayers from that Sundance. And it's still today, because the Yellow Kidneys and all the grandsons, they do their best to put that Sundance on every year on the Blackfeet Reservation. And I just want to give a shout out to them, with pain and learning, no matter what. Leon Rattler, all of, Rick Grounds, Larry Grounds, Elsie Grounds. I'm just thinking of them because I just love this tears of love, that no matter what goes on, and then however they can help, and so maybe even April, like what you could share with us. Yes, Leo's just like licking me over here.
Aw. He feels your tears, so he just wants to love you.
He's trying to like comfort me.
Love.
Yeah, it's love, but in California, I think of the Native Dads Network and Boys with Braids in San Francisco. They're going to have, an event April 1st. So how do Indians heal in California, April? Because like, I'll just leave a broad question like that, because I know you have so many stories, and you yourself have touched so many lives and helped so many people. Tell us something about that, April.
Yeah, you just like when you talk about Aurora's, relatives, and it makes me think about my great grandma, Minnie Fullwider, and my great grandma, Minnie Fullwider, her and my great grandfather, Leland Doc Fullwider, they really, preserved our language and worked with anthropologists to do that. And if they didn't do that, a lot of our people were afraid to do that, and they didn't want to talk to anthropologists. And California has a history of really bad genocide that happened to our people here, and especially to my people, the Yuki people. And but I feel like if it wasn't for my great grandma, my great grandpa, preserving our language, we wouldn't have that, and then passing that down to my grandmother, my mother's mother. And I was very fortunate to be able to have my grandma and have her sisters in my life, my great auntie Norma Knight and my great auntie Kat. And so I was lucky to have them. And even my son was able to be around those greats, so that's been a blessing. And having my mother still here, at 85 years old, to still share that, but my grandmother, she was a very holy person. And then she taught us how to pray, she taught us how to pray. And I think that faith that she gave us, and taught us, and was that example of my grandmother, she's a boarding school survivor. She went down to Sherman boarding school. And when we talked about those stories, about her experience, she would tell those really sad stories of, being hit and what happened to other children and what happened to her. But she would also tell the good stories of how she met so many Indian people and she learned so many Indian languages, because she said, when I was in boarding school, we weren't, oh, you're that tribe or you're that tribe. We were just Indian. We didn't care. We were just Indian, it's like, that's all that mattered, and so, and I think that through her survival story of being, surviving from boarding school, she really gave us that faith that, things would be better. And I get my strength from my grandma. I reflect on her teaching all the time. I'm also a breast cancer survivor. So to me, that's like, that's a warrior spirit to go through something like that. And I take that with like pride, because, I'm like, I could take on anything now.
Well, in April, I was just telling Aurora, we were visiting in storytelling. I said, because I had a scare with a lump on my right breast. And who did I call? April McGill. I mean, like, I was in Browning, Montana. We were some parade, and you just talked me down from my fear.
Mhm.
You just inspired me to everything was going to be okay, because at that time I didn't know if it was cancerous. I just didn't know, and so I was having all this reflecting, but you gently soothed me, or no matter which direction it went. And then you walked me through, what were these tests, what you knew like all the ins and outs of the cancer tests, and then you knew all the ins and outs of some of the treatment. And I just want to publicly thank you, because that really helped heal me. And that's why this power hour is so important, because we may not be there physically with a person, but we can still help them. And so I want to thank you, April. So there's yes, cancer survivors, all of you out there, you are a survivor and a thriver of this pandemic. You are a miracle. April's a miracle, Aurora's a miracle, all their children. You should see all their children and their adopted children too. They're the badass aunties of this area. And so it's just an honor to come here. So in our kind of winding down, in closing comments, speak to the universe, speak to the people of color here. What kind of wisdom are learning, and our learnings, because we don't realize when we learn. I mean, like, I learned, get your goddamn vaccination. I got 5 shots. I mean, I learned so much about vaccine, as a public health person, so much learning. So who wants to start, Aurora or April? What kind of learnings or wisdom would you give out to our people of color, our BIPOC, our LGBTQ to spirit, all of our peeps are out there? What would you have to say?
I'll let April start.
Hey, April.
Well, I heard this recently about our redwood trees up here in Northern California, and they were talking about, like, you see these really big redwood trees and you think that they have these, like roots that are just like, grounded, which you think that you chop one down and it's gonna, it's like, oh, that's it, but these redwood trees are really, the reason why they grow so well and they're so big is because when they root with other redwood trees. So that's how they get bigger and they grow, is because they're rooting with other redwood trees. And that just made me think about, wow, we're like redwood trees, Indian community, we start growing and rooting with each other and our other organizations, and like getting even ideas. Like if I get an idea, I'm like, I'm going to call my sister Aurora, I'll call Michelle Anton, I start thinking about like how we're going to continue to serve our community, and that's something that I think about is like, how do we serve our people? How do we be servants to our community? Because I feel like that's our purpose. Creator has given us so many gifts. Some of us have amazing cooking skills. I don't. Some of us have, great beading and art, and then there's some of us who are good with policy or writing grants or whatever it is. And so I think it's like, find your gifts and share those gifts with your community, share them with your family, and not to be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail, because that's a part of learning, and making mistakes. Because I know, like, that's something I learned very young, was I would speak or let my emotions take over. And I remember one time, Helen, we were in a meeting, and then she pulled me aside and she said, don't get emotional when you're in these meetings with these non-natives, because they're going to judge you. Just hold your composure, think of that prayer, and just, it's going to be all right. So always reflect on that too, because, there are times that we have to be in the non-native spaces. And so just, sharing your gifts, thinking about how you can best represent your family and your community, and just continue to be that redwood tree, and just spread your roots and grow. So that's something I've been thinking about lately.
Oh my gosh. And I just being in the presence of, I like that one redwood tree that you can drive through.
Yeah.
And I just like in the awe, in New Zealand, the kori, their trees that grow up past the white cloud, and they have a story of the whale that would always beach itself. And so one of the whales shape shifted and became that kori tree. So thank you for that redwood tree, because trees are medicine. And, like, even when we pray, when I was little, I'd always hear them say, we pray for the four-legged, we pray for the two-legged, and we pray for the one-legged. And I didn't know what that meant, but that meant the trees, the one-legged are the trees. And so thank you so much, April. So Aurora, and Aurora, so sister, this what kind of so much wisdom comes out of your mouth. Sometimes she just takes a little sip of her coffee and does this profound thing. What would you like to share with Native Wellness Institute's audience out there for Power Hour?
Okay. So kind of thinking of two different tracks, a little bit about how the trees, right? You're mentioning the trees, and so I'm thinking of how I was watching a video on Netflix, and it was about the fantastic world of fungi, right? And it talked about all the mushrooms and stuff, and it talked about how we have the internet up here in our world. Well, underneath the earth, it's called mycelium, and it connects all living things underneath the earth, and that's how they communicate with each other. So speaking of trees, right, and how they all communicate with each other underneath. And one day I was taking a walk, exercising a few months back, and I was praying, and I was asking, Creator for my prayers and stuff, and I seen the trees, and I actually talk to the tree too, because knowing that they're all connected, and we've always heard that they're always connected underneath, and trees are part of Creator, Creator's creation, and so are all, everything alive, grass, flowers, plants, air, everything around us. We have wood in the building that we're sitting in, and so Creator's all around us. God Creator's all around us, and so our prayers are going to be heard. And I said that prayer, I prayed, and I got an answer right away. I was like, confirmation that everything's going to be okay. And no matter where we travel, they speak to each other. The prayers are heard across, and it's all around us, where whatever we need, and then also this past week we got to see Maggie Steele last weekend. Maggie, oh my gosh, it was so amazing. And I've always had this thought in my mind in regards to when it comes to us as human beings and having conflict with each other, is I always believe that we all have a spirit, right, connected to Creator, and then we have strongholds of the world, right? These strongholds or sometimes we might have disagreements with each other and we can't resolve it on our own, but only through prayer and the spirit, and creator. We can pray about it and put in creator's lives and creator's hand, and then just turn it over to creator, and eventually it'll work itself out. And I've always thought of this, that like we're not the same people, that we might have been yesterday or last week when we had that argument with somebody, and we're a different person tomorrow. And when Maggie came out, she also said the same thing. She says, I loved how she said it. She said that we're like fluid as people. We were like almost close to 80% water, in our bodies, and we're like fluid. We change. We're not the same person yesterday that we are today, and we're not going to be the same person tomorrow that we are today. And we're always changing. And so, let's learn to like let those things roll off. What was said, maybe things were said, that might have offended us or hurt us, and we have to learn to like let that go and move forward, and just keep focusing. That's how we do it, how we keep doing the work here to bring healing to our community, and keep doing the good work, is you just don't take things personal. And I used to have a paper hanging next to my desk that had a Mickey Mouse face when I was a medical assistant at the clinic back in the day. I think I might have got it from Myra Smith, right? And I love it because it used to say, it's not about you, had like a big smile, Mickey Mouse. And he was like this with his hands on his hips. And it said, it's not about you. And anytime I would like, feel offended or take something personal, I look at the picture, or something's bothering me, I look at the picture and it reminds me, it's not about you, because everyone's going through their own things in life, and so we're always changing. And I believe that when we leave this world, we return back to our spirit, with creator, and we let go of all those strongholds of the world, and we look back on our life from the universe looking down, and we're like, wow, all those little things that we were holding on to, strongholds of the world.
Yeah.
They don't even mean anything, because, hey, they weren't even important. And we were like holding on to that, and we have to learn how to let that go.
Yeah.
When you were saying that, Aurora, and you were talking about the trees, April, we lost our colleague Joe Day in Australia, and so we're all we're grieving. It was a cancer took him, and but part of speaking about that network of the earth and the water, the thing that comforted me, because I was in a hotel, is I just went to the hot tub, and then I just went and I was floating in the water. And like I was just floating, and I said, Joe, is this how it feels when we're floating to the other world? And like he answered, kinda. And I was like, so then as we flow, ending this power hour, and we're flowing today, we're heading to Intertribal Friendship House for dancing, and then
Potluck.
They're gonna they said they're gonna serve shit on a shingle,
Carol.
because it's hamburger gravy. We make that budget stretch, and then tomorrow we're gonna race across somehow. Well, maybe there's a helicopter. We're gonna hijack it, and we're gonna come over with April, and we're just having a giant talking circle. So everybody's welcome. Native Wellness Institute next week, we'll have our first in-person training of trainer in Portland. You can go to our site. So maybe April, you could say how you get hold of you, and then you could say how you get hold of how do we get hold of you, April?
You can contact us on our website. We have our AICC email there, and you can also reach out to me on social media as well, on Instagram and Facebook. We check that regularly. So and yeah, please come tomorrow. It's going to be really an awesome day. I think it gets us ready for this awesome weekend, and just looking forward to bringing people together in a safe space. So yeah.
Awesome. So how do we get hold of you? Like this?
Yeah, I was thinking, I know we only have like 1 minute left.
Okay.
So this gathering tomorrow with Theda is like actually a lead up to we want to plan a one-day women's conference in the Bay Area here. So we'll be reaching out to you, Letitia, if you're there. up there in Sacramento area. And so, yeah, we'll be talking about that. And then also to get a hold of me, actually Native American Health Center, if you want to get a hold of the health center and find out what we do, more about what we do, you can look up www.nativehealth.org. And my work email is Aurora, Aurora, M as in Mary @nativehealth.org.
Awesome.
It's 13 hours.
So I have this badass computer that tells me, shut up. No.
My dog just came up to me too. She's like, let's go out to the beach.
Yeah, so you better go on your walking. So we'll see you tomorrow. So Native Wellness Institute, we're here every Wednesday. Jean Tagabon and Lavina, they're out at Coeur d'Alene doing a Gona. So Jean couldn't when they're healing, they can't come on. So we'll be here every Wednesday with different guests, and thank you.
Thank you, Yahweh. Oh, Yahweh. Thank you very much.
We'll see you next Wednesday. Kitakito Matsuno.